The gathering storm. Captain Maya Chen stared at the holographic display hovering above the command console, her face illuminated by the blue glow of countless tiny dots representing what remained of Earth's defensive fleet. The largest warship, her own Defiant, was over 30 years old, practically ancient by modern military standards. The rest of the collection was even worse: retrofitted cargo haulers, outdated patrol vessels, and hastily armed civilian craft. This ragtag assembly was all that stood between humanity and the approaching Dominion Armada. "Status report on the Dominion fleet," Maya demanded, her voice steady despite the knot of dread in her stomach. Lieutenant Raj Patel swiped through several screens on his console. "Their vanguard just passed Saturn's orbit, Captain. Main fleet following close behind. Estimated arrival at Earth defensive perimeter in 72 hours. Maya nodded, absorbing the information without showing the despair she felt. Decades of peace had led to military budget cuts that left Earth Defense Force a shell of its former glory. When the first long-range scans detected the Dominion Armada 6 weeks ago, the Planetary Defense Council had scrambled to assemble anything capable of spaceflight. "They're hailing us again," Communications Officer Kelly Winters announced, her hand hovering over the acceptance key. "Put it through," Maya ordered, straightening her uniform jacket. The holographic display shifted, replacing the fleet positions with the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vrazek of the Dominion Forces. The alien's iridescent scales shimmered under the lights of his command ship, 4 yellow eyes narrowing as they focused on Maya. "Captain Chen," Vrazek's voice rumbled through the translator, "I have reviewed your defense capabilities as requested. I find myself disappointed." Maya maintained her professional demeanor. "The Earth Defense Force stands ready to protect our planet, Commander Vrazek." A sound emerged from the alien that the translator interpreted as laughter. "You defend your homeworld with obsolete technology and discarded vessels. My tactical officers estimate your entire fleet could be eliminated in under 20 minutes. Perhaps your tactical officers should reserve judgment until after we've engaged," Maya replied coolly. A meaningless gesture of defiance. Vrazek's upper eyes blinked slowly. "My terms remain unchanged. Earth will surrender and join the Dominion as a protectorate world. Your resources will serve our expansion, and your population will be permitted to live under our guidance. And if we refuse, then your species will serve as an example of the futility of resistance." The alien commander leaned forward. "You have 72 of your hours to signal your surrender. After that, we will commence the cleansing of your orbital defenses, followed by targeted strikes on your major population centers." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command deck in silence. "Well, he seems nice," Winters muttered, breaking the tension. Maya turned to her XO, Commander Alexei Kozlov. "Assembled the senior staff and defense coordinators. We need to make 72 hours count." The emergency war room aboard Earth's orbital command station hummed with nervous energy as representatives from military, scientific, and civilian sectors gathered around the central table. Holographic displays showed the approaching Dominion fleet, over 300 warships of varying sizes, all featuring technology at least 2 generations beyond Earth's most advanced systems. "Let's not sugarcoat this," Maya began, addressing the assembled group. "We are outgunned, outmatched, and facing an enemy that considers our defeat a foregone conclusion." Dr. Elena Santos, Earth's leading genotechnologist, nodded grimly. "Their weapon systems alone outclass anything we have. Their shield harmonics operate on principles we've barely begun to understand." "So what can we do?" asked Director Marcus Williams of the Civilian Space Administration. "Evacuate our leadership. Try to negotiate better terms." Maya shook her head. "Evacuation sends the wrong message, and Vrazek has made it clear negotiations are over. We fight." "With what?" Williams gestured at the holographic display of Earth's fleet. "We have 97 vessels, most of which weren't designed for combat, against 300 state-of-the-art warships." Commander Kozlov stepped forward. Then we change the rules of engagement. The Dominion expects a conventional space battle, formations, targeting priorities, and tactical retreats. If we can't match their firepower, we need to be unpredictable. Dr. Santos raised her hand tentatively. I may have something relevant. She activated her tablet, projecting sensor data into the center of the room. We've been analyzing Dominion communication signals since first contact. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows rigid patterns and protocols. Maya leaned forward, suddenly interested. What kind of patterns? Their systems are hyper-efficient but lack adaptability, Santos explained, highlighting sections of the data stream. Every communication, weapon discharge, and shield modulation follows precise mathematical sequences. It's elegant, but predictable. Maya finished, the first spark of hope igniting in her mind. Santos nodded. Exactly. And there's something else. She swiped to a new screen showing energy readings. Their main weapons draw power directly from their drive cores through a centralized distribution network. It's what gives them such firepower, but it creates a theoretical vulnerability. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. So if we could disrupt that network, Commander Kozlov started. We could potentially neutralize their offensive capabilities, Santos confirmed. The problem is getting through their shields. They operate on a trinary phase shift system that makes them virtually impenetrable to our conventional weapons. Maya studied the data, an idea forming. She turned to Director Williams. How many civilian ships in the solar system have mining equipment? Williams looked confused. Mining equipment? Dozens, maybe 100, mostly around the asteroid belt and Jupiter's moons. Why? Because mining ships have phase disruptors for breaking down molecular bonds in asteroids, Maya explained, excitement growing in her voice. If Dr. Santos can determine the resonance frequencies of their shields. Dr. Santos caught on immediately. We might be able to create localized disruptions, not enough to bring the shields down entirely, but possibly enough to create vulnerable points. For the first time since the crisis began, Maya felt a glimmer of genuine hope. Commander Kozlov, I want every mining vessel in the system requisitioned and retrofitted within 24 hours. Dr. Santos, work with your team to identify those shield frequencies. What about weapons? Asked Fleet Admiral Harrison, who had been quietly observing. Even if we create vulnerabilities in their shields, we don't have the firepower to capitalize on it. Maya turned to the aging admiral with newfound determination. Then we create new weapons. Repurpose what we have. Mining lasers, industrial cutting tools, electromagnetic pulse generators. Anything that can be weaponized. She walked to the holographic display, enlarging the image of Earth's disparate fleet. The Dominion looks at our ships and sees junk, outdated technology not worthy of their concern. That's not our weakness, it's our advantage. Maya addressed the entire room, her voice firm with conviction. They expect us to fight like a proper military force, to follow the conventional rules of engagement. We won't. We'll fight like desperate humans with nothing to lose, using every trick, shortcut, and dirty tactic we can devise. For the first time since the meeting began, she saw resolve replacing resignation on the faces around her. Let's get to work, she ordered. We have a lot to do and not much time to do it. The next 48 hours transformed the solar system into the largest impromptu shipyard humanity had ever created. Mining vessels were retrofitted with makeshift weapon systems. Civilian ships were outfitted with experimental shield disruptors based on Dr. Santos' findings. Research stations were converted into tactical communication relays. Aboard the Defiant, Maya reviewed the latest modifications with her engineering chief, Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka. We've replaced the standard torpedo payload with a modified electromagnetic pulse generator, Tanaka explained, showing Maya the schematics. It won't damage their hull, but if it gets through a shield disruption, it should temporarily disable their systems. How temporarily? Maya asked. Minutes at most. Their redundancy systems are impressive. Minutes might be enough. What about the mining drones? Tanaka swiped to a new diagram. We've converted 53 mining drones into what I'm calling shield leeches. If Dr. Santos' frequency calculations are correct, they'll attach to specific points on the Dominion shields and create disruption fields through which our weapons can penetrate. Maya nodded approvingly. And the civilian fleet, ready to implement Protocol Firefly as discussed. Though I still have concerns about putting civilians in harm's way. Every ship is volunteer only, Maya assured him. And they'll be holding position at the edge of the engagement zone until needed. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the command deck. Maya hurried back, Tanaka close behind. "Report," she demanded as she entered. Lieutenant Patel looked up from his station. "Captain, the Dominion fleet has accelerated. New estimated arrival, 14 hours. Maya felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. They're not waiting for their deadline. "No, ma'am, and we're detecting energy buildups consistent with weapons charging throughout their vanguard. They've decided we're not worth the courtesy of waiting," Commander Kozlov observed grimly. Maya squared her shoulders. "Or they're concerned about our preparations." She turned to communications. "Alert all ships to implement Protocol Scattered Stars immediately, and get me a direct channel to Vrazek." Within moments, the Dominion commander's face appeared on the main display. "Captain Chin," he acknowledged, his tone dismissive. "Have you come to offer your surrender ahead of schedule?" "Actually, Commander, I'm curious why you violated your own terms. Our deadline hasn't arrived." Vrazek's upper eyes narrowed. "We detected unusual activities throughout your system. Despite my warnings, you appear to be preparing for resistance." "We're preparing to defend our home," Maya replied evenly. "As is our right." A futile gesture. "Your collection of obsolete vessels and mining equipment presents no threat to a Dominion battle group, let alone our full armada." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Then why the rush, Commander? If our preparations are so insignificant, why not honor your own deadline?" For a brief moment, Vrazek appeared unsettled by her confidence. "I've decided to be merciful," he finally replied. "A quick end to your resistance will result in fewer casualties among your people." "How considerate," Maya said dryly. "We'll be sure to thank you properly when you arrive." She terminated the transmission before he could respond, then turned to her crew. "He's concerned," she announced. "He wouldn't have accelerated their timetable if he wasn't. That means our preparations have been noticed, which means they might work." "All ships report Protocol Scattered Stars is underway," Patel announced. "Civilian vessels are moving into their assigned positions." Maya nodded, then opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Captain Chen to all Earth defense vessels. The enemy has shown their hand. They're worried about what we might do. Let's show them their right to be concerned." She gazed at the tactical display, watching as Earth's mismatched fleet broke from traditional formations, scattering into seemingly random positions throughout near-Earth space according to the unconventional battle plan they had devised. "Now we see if our junk fleet can surprise them," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. Against the vastness of space, Earth's last defenders prepared to make their stand, carrying with them the desperate hopes of an entire planet. The unexpected victory. The Dominion vanguard emerged from hyperspace in a dazzling display of energy, 40 warships arranged in perfect formation like the points of an elaborate three-dimensional spear. Behind them, the main fleet was beginning to appear, hundreds of vessels materializing with mechanical precision. From the command deck of the Defiant, Maya watched the tactical display with outward calm that belied her racing heart. Everything they had worked for over the past days would be tested now. "All ships maintain position," she ordered. "No movement, no targeting. Let them come to us." Lieutenant Patel monitored the incoming data. Dominion vessels are deploying in standard engagement formation. Their weapon systems are hot, shields at maximum. "And our fleet?" Maya asked. "All vessels maintaining scattered deployment as ordered. Shield disruptors on standby." Mining vessels have deployed their drones to hidden positions. Maya nodded, eyes never leaving the display. What are they doing now? They appear confused, Captain. Paddle replied with a hint of satisfaction. Their standard protocol would be to target our largest military vessels first, but our scattered positioning doesn't present them with obvious priority targets. Commander Kozlov stepped beside her. They're scanning extensively, trying to make sense of our deployment. Good, Maya said. Let them waste time trying to understand our strategy. Lieutenant Winters, any communication from Prazek? Before Winters could answer, the main screen flickered to life with the Dominion commander's face. His expression registered what Maya interpreted as puzzlement. Captain Chen, your deployment pattern defies tactical logic, Vrazek stated flatly. Have your strategic officers suffered neural damage? Or is this some primitive attempt at psychological warfare? Maya smiled pleasantly. Neither, Commander. We're simply not playing by your rules. There are no rules in warfare, only optimal strategies. Vrazek replied dismissively. And yours is decidedly suboptimal. We'll see. Humanity has a long history of finding unexpected solutions to seemingly impossible problems. Vrazek made a gesture that the translator didn't interpret. Your confidence is misplaced. Commencing cleansing operations now. The transmission ended, and Maya's smile disappeared. All vessels, implement Protocol Firefly. Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, Earth's scattered ships remained motionless as the Dominion vanguard advanced. From Vrazek's perspective, it must have seemed like paralysis or indecision, a fractured command structure unable to coordinate a proper defense. The first Dominion shots lanced out, targeting the Defiant and 3 other military vessels. The beams struck their shields, which flared and held, though just barely. Return fire, Maya ordered. Standard weapons only. Make it look good. The Defiant and the other military ships fired conventional weapons that splashed harmlessly against the Dominion shields. Exactly as expected. They're advancing on standard vectors, Paddle reported, moving to surround and isolate our military vessels. Maya nodded. They're following their playbook, preparing to pick us off one by one. She opened a secure channel. Mining Division, you're up. Execute your runs. From the shadows of Earth's moon and the cover of orbital platforms, 12 retrofitted mining vessels suddenly powered up and accelerated toward the Dominion fleet. It was a seemingly suicidal charge that drew immediate attention from the alien warships. Dominion vessels are redirecting to intercept the mining ships, Patel announced. As predicted, Maya said, they'll expect a direct attack. They won't see the real threat. The mining vessels approached the Dominion ships at dangerous speed, drawing fire from multiple directions. Their makeshift shields wouldn't hold for long. Mining Division, deploy shield leeches, Maya ordered. From each mining vessel, dozens of small drones detached and scattered. Most were destroyed instantly by Dominion point defense systems, but in the chaos of their destruction, several dozen survived long enough to reach their targets. Shield leeches attaching to Dominion vessels, Paddle reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Reading localized shield disruptions on 17 Dominion ships. Maya leaned forward. Now for the true test. Protocol Firefly. Phase 2. All EMP vessels. Target the disruption points and fire. Throughout the scattered Earth fleet, vessels equipped with the modified EMP generators locked onto the vulnerable points created by the shield leeches and fired. The pulses weren't visible to the naked eye, but the effects were immediate and dramatic. 7 Dominion warships suddenly went dark, their sleek forms drifting out of formation as emergency systems fought to restore power. 10 others showed partial systems failures, weapons and propulsion temporarily disabled. For a brief moment, silence fell over the Defiant's command deck as the crew witnessed the first genuine success against the overwhelming force. It worked, Winters whispered in disbelief. Maya allowed herself only a second of satisfaction before refocusing. Phase 3. All military vessels, concentrate fire on the disabled ships. Target propulsion and weapons only. Earth's military ships unleashed everything they had on the vulnerable Dominion vessels. Without their shields, the alien warships suffered significant damage to their external systems. Incoming transmission from Vrazek, Winters announced, not bothering to hide her grin. On screen, Maya ordered. Vrazek's face appeared, his composure noticeably disturbed. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "You've employed some form of shield disruption technology." "Not trickery, Commander. Just human ingenuity. Those mining tools you dismissed. Turns out they're quite effective at creating resonance disruptions in your shield frequencies." Before Vrazek could respond, alerts sounded on the Defiance bridge. "Multiple hyperspace signatures," Patel warned. "The rest of their fleet is arriving." Maya terminated the communication. "All vessels, regroup according to Protocol Nebula. We knew we couldn't hold them forever." The Earth fleet scattered once more, retreating to new positions as the main Dominion Armada arrived, nearly 300 warships joining the fight, dwarfing humanity's defenders. Vrazek wasted no time. "All Dominion vessels, adjust shield frequencies on rotating cycles. Target and eliminate all human mining vessels first, then their military ships." Maya watched grimly as the Dominion fleet adapted their tactics. "They're learning," she noted. "Dr. Santos, time for your contingency." Dr. Santos's voice came over the comm. "Transmitting the modified frequency patterns now." "But Captain, this is highly experimental. The simulations were inconclusive." "Noted. We're out of options for being cautious." Throughout the Earth fleet, shield disruptors recalibrated to the new frequencies provided by Santos's team. Meanwhile, the Dominion fleet advanced methodically, destroying 3 mining vessels in quick succession. "They're picking us apart," Kozlov observed tensely. "The shield leeches aren't finding purchase anymore." Maya studied the tactical display, watching as the Dominion ships formed into smaller battle groups, systematically targeting Earth's defenders. "Time for our final play." Protocol Sunburst. Kozlov looked at her with concern. "Captain, that's a desperation move." "We're desperate," Maya replied simply. "Execute Sunburst." Throughout the solar system, Earth's remaining ships suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, not away from the Dominion fleet, but directly toward it. At the same time, every orbital platform, satellite, and space station that had been retrofitted with propulsion systems also began moving. "All vessels, transmit the Sunburst signal," Maya ordered. From each human ship, a powerful electromagnetic pulse was broadcast, not as a weapon, but as a signal. The pulse contained a specific frequency pattern derived from Dr. Santos' research. "What are they doing?" Vrazek demanded of his tactical officers as the human fleet charged. "Prepare to intercept and destroy." What the Dominion commander didn't realize was that the Sunburst signal wasn't meant for his ships. The signal was directed at the swarm of mining drones that had been quietly positioned throughout the battlefield. Thousands of them, now all activating simultaneously. The drones, each carrying a micro version of the shield disruptor, converged on the Dominion fleet from all directions. Too numerous to target effectively, they attached to the alien vessels and began transmitting Dr. Santos's modulating frequency directly into the shields. Dominion vessels experiencing massive shield fluctuations, Paddle reported, his voice rising in excitement. "Their shield systems are trying to compensate, but the varying frequencies are causing cascade failures." Maya nodded grimly. "All vessels, fire everything you have. Target their power distribution networks." Earth's ships unleashed their remaining weapons: conventional missiles, repurposed mining lasers, electromagnetic pulses, and even makeshift kinetic projectiles. In normal circumstances, none of these would have threatened the advanced Dominion warships. But with their shields in disarray, vulnerabilities exposed, the combined assault found its mark. Explosions bloomed across the Dominion fleet as power distribution networks overloaded, causing chain reactions through their interconnected systems. Ship after ship went dark or suffered critical damage. "It's working," Kozlov breathed, watching the tactical display in amazement. It's actually working. In the center of the Dominion formation, Vrazak's command ship struggled to maintain power as systems failed across the vessel. The commander stared in disbelief at reports flooding in from his fleet. Nearly a third of his vessels were disabled or critically damaged, not by superior technology, but by mining equipment and outdated weapon systems. "Impossible," he muttered. "Tactically impossible." Maya's face appeared on his command screen. "Commander Vrazak, this is Captain Chen. Your fleet is in disarray. You've lost 30% of your combat capability, and the situation is deteriorating. I suggest you consider your options carefully." Vrazak's four eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of extreme agitation. This is not warfare as civilized species conduct it. You've turned mining equipment into weapons. You've used obsolete technology in ways that defy tactical doctrine. "We call it innovation," Maya replied, "born of necessity when faced with extinction. Now, would you prefer to continue this demonstration of human resourcefulness, or shall we discuss terms?" For several tense moments, Vrazak didn't respond. Then, with obvious reluctance, he gave orders to his remaining vessels to cease fire. "I will speak with my council," the Dominion commander finally said. "This outcome was not anticipated in our strategic projections." "I imagine not," Maya replied, unable to completely suppress her satisfaction. "We'll stand by for your response." 3 days later, Maya stood in Earth's orbital diplomatic center, watching as the Dominion shuttle docked. Security personnel lined the corridor, still wary despite the ceasefire that had held since the battle. Commander Kozlov stood beside her. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" "They're pragmatists," Maya replied. "We've proven we're more trouble than we're worth to conquer. That buys us time, at least." The shuttle door opened, and Vrazak emerged, accompanied by 2 aides. The Dominion commander had insisted on delivering the official response in person, an unexpected gesture that protocol experts suggested indicated respect. Maya stepped forward. "Commander Vrazak, welcome to Earth Station Alpha." Vrazak inclined his head slightly. "Captain Chen, I bring the official response from the Dominion High Council regarding your world status." He presented a data tablet, which Maya accepted with appropriate ceremony. "The Council has determined that humanity possesses unusual tactical creativity that merits further study rather than subjugation," Vrazak stated formally. "Earth will not be required to join the Dominion as a protectorate. Instead, we propose a non-aggression pact and limited cultural exchange." Maya could hardly believe what she was hearing. "That's most generous, Commander." "It is pragmatic," Vrazak corrected. "Your defense of this system has been added to our tactical archives for study. My own report emphasized humanity's capacity for unconventional problem-solving when facing superior forces." He paused, his upper eyes focusing on Maya while his lower eyes scanned the room. "I admit a personal curiosity. Your fleet, it should not have prevailed. Your ships were outdated, your weapons primitive. How did you conceive of such a strategy?" Maya considered her response carefully. "Desperation breeds innovation, Commander. When conventional tactics aren't an option, you find unconventional ones. And the shield disruption technology, a lucky breakthrough based on studying your communication patterns, plus mining equipment that happened to generate the right frequency when modified." Vrazak made a sound that might have been amusement. "You turned mining drones into weapons and orbital platforms into missile launchers. You scattered your forces in a pattern that defied all strategic logic, yet served your purposes perfectly." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The Council believes your victory was an anomaly, luck favoring the desperate. But I have studied your species' history since our encounter. This pattern of improvisation, of turning disadvantage to advantage, appears repeatedly." Maya met his gaze steadily. "Perhaps that's something your analysts should consider in their reports." "Indeed." Vrazak straightened. "The Dominion has conquered 12 species, Captain Chen. Yours is the first to successfully repel our initial assault. That will not be forgotten." After the formal proceedings concluded and Brazek returned to his shuttle, Maya stood with the Earth Defense Council, watching the Dominion vessel depart. Admiral Harrison shook his head in amazement. A non-aggression pact instead of conquest. I still can't believe it worked. They underestimated us, Maya said. They saw our outdated ships, our repurposed mining vessels, and dismissed us as primitives not worth serious consideration. Dr. Santos smiled. Their mistake was thinking advanced technology equals advanced thinking. They forgot that necessity is the mother of invention. Maya turned from the viewport to face her colleagues. We've earned a reprieve, not permanent peace. The Dominion will be watching us, studying us. Next time, they won't underestimate what humans can do with limited resources and unlimited determination. Then we better not give them a next time, Admiral Harrison said firmly. Starting today, Earth rebuilds its defenses properly. And this time, we won't let budget cuts leave us vulnerable. Maya nodded in agreement. As she looked back at the stars where the Dominion fleet had been, she felt both pride in what they'd accomplished and sobering awareness of how close they'd come to extinction. The Last Chance Fleet, a collection of outdated warships, repurposed mining vessels, and hastily armed civilian craft, had saved humanity through improvisation and audacity. Their victory would go down in history as the moment when humanity announced its presence to the galaxy, not as an easy conquest, but as a species that should never be underestimated, even when armed with nothing but junk.